My dad pushed me to the ground at his retirement party in front of 80 people. I was wearing my dead mother's dress, and nobody moved to help me up. But what they didn't know was that the woman he'd handed my seat to had been stealing from him for 8 months. My husband had the proof in his jacket pocket. If this story hits close to home, please like and subscribe. My name is Heather. I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of the night I almost lost my father forever. Let me take you back 3 years before that party. My dad, Richard Purcell, spent 35 years as a foreman at a manufacturing plant outside Dayton, Ohio. He'd take me to construction sites on Saturdays and point at beams overhead. See how that carries the load, Heather? Everything holds up something else. Years later, when I became a structural engineer, I finally understood. The things you can't see are the things that keep everything standing. My mom, Linda, was an ER nurse who worked nights so she could be home when I got off the school bus. She smelled like antiseptic and lavender. Mom and Dad built their life around a small oak table he'd made by hand the year I was born. 3 chairs, one for each of us. Dad used to say, "No one extra, no one missing." Mom got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I was 11. She died 14 months later. For 3 years after that, it was just Dad and me. The silence was heavy, but it was ours. Then Dad told me he'd met someone. Victoria Ashford walked into our lives wearing a cream-colored cashmere wrap and a practiced smile. She had a daughter named Brooke, who was 2 years younger than me. They got married when I was 15. Within 6 months, things shifted. Victoria replaced the oak table with a marble-top dining set. Something more modern, she said. That table, the one Dad built, went to the garage. The first Thanksgiving after the wedding, my chair disappeared. "We needed a matching set," Victoria said. Brooke moved in full-time and called my dad Dad from the first week. My dad, who hadn't cried since Mom's funeral, got misty-eyed and hugged her at the dinner table. I left for college at 18. Clemson, structural engineering, full ride. Every time I came home, something else had changed. Mom's photos migrated from the living room to the hallway, then to a basement shelf. Her garden was pulled up and replaced with ornamental grasses. My bedroom became Victoria's yoga studio. I met Marcus at a structural engineering conference when I was 25. He was a forensic accountant. We married 2 years later at a courthouse. The last time my father looked me in the eye, he squeezed my hand and said, "Your mom would have liked him." 3 years before the retirement party, I was managing a bridge inspection in Tennessee when Christmas came. I called Dad on December 23rd to explain I was stuck on a job site. No callback. I texted Christmas morning. No reply. I called every week for the next 3 years. 147 calls, 42 texts, not a single response. 8 weeks before the retirement party, Marcus got a phone call from Donna Webb, who worked in benefits administration at Dad's company. Marcus didn't tell me. Not yet. The invitation arrived in my work email. "You are cordially invited to celebrate the retirement of Richard Purcell, 35 years of dedicated service." I stared at that email for 20 minutes. Marcus came in and sat down across from me. "You should go," he said. "He hasn't spoken to me in 3 years. Which is exactly why you should go. This might be the only chance." I chose the navy blue dress. Mom's dress. She'd worn it to her 20th wedding anniversary dinner, the last one before her diagnosis. Simple. Boat neck, 3/4 sleeves. The fabric was still hers. The silk still carried the faintest smell of her perfume. Willowbrook Country Club sat at the end of a long private drive. Crystal chandeliers, linen tablecloths, a podium with a photograph of Dad shaking hands with the company CEO. I found the seating chart. My eyes scanned the head table. My name wasn't anywhere. I should have turned around, but I'd spent 3 years wondering if my father still remembered my name. Victoria met us just inside the foyer. Her smile landed on me like a camera flash, bright and gone in a second. She steered us to a two-top near the back wall, wedged between a pillar and the service corridor. No nameplate, no centerpiece, just 2 chairs and a bread basket. From there, I could see my father. A Cartier watch caught the light on his wrist. Brooke sat at his right side, leaning into him. She looked like she belonged. Dad glanced in my direction. Our eyes met for 1 second. I waited for recognition. Guilt. Anything. He turned away, back to Brooke. A hand squeezed my shoulder. "Aunt Janet." She'd crossed the entire room to reach us. I'm glad you came, honey. There are things you need to know. They changed his papers. Victoria took the podium. Behind her, a projector screen blinked to life with a slideshow. 35 years of Dad's career. Then the family pictures. Not one image of me. Not one image of my mother. Victoria turned back to the crowd. And I want to give a special recognition to Richard's daughter, Brooke. His pride and joy. Brooke stood and waved. People clapped. I felt Marcus's hand tighten around mine. I set my napkin down and stood up. I didn't drive 4 hours to eat bread rolls in a corner. I walked straight through the center of the room. 80 people watched me cross that floor. The head table was elevated on a low platform. I stepped up. There was one empty chair at the far left. I stood beside it and rested my hand on the back. Dad. Richard looked up. His jaw tightened. It's been 3 years, I said. Can we talk? Victoria leaned in and whispered something to Richard. His expression hardened. Dad pushed his chair back and stood up. He looked down at me, just a stranger wearing my father's face. He put both hands on my shoulders and pushed. I went backward off the platform. My heel caught the edge. I hit the floor hard. The seam of Mom's dress split along the hem. That seat is for my real daughter. Dad's voice carried across the entire room. Get out. Behind him, Brooke slid into my chair. It's okay, Dad, she said. She can't hurt you anymore. 80 people. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I sat on that floor feeling the cold hardwood through my mother's dress. My clutch had fallen open beside me. There was a photograph, me at 5 years old sitting on my dad's shoulders at a construction site. Hard hat on my head, grinning so wide my eyes disappeared. He was laughing. I didn't cry. I stared up at my father, and I saw something terrible. Certainty. Victoria had spent 3 years making sure of that. Then I heard a chair push back, and it wasn't mine. Marcus. I was still on one knee when Marcus stood up. He didn't rush. He buttoned his suit jacket. A single, precise motion. I'd seen him do that 100 times. It was his tell. It meant he was about to lay something out that left no room for argument. Victoria noticed him first. Something flickered behind her expression, the briefest crack of alarm. Marcus, she called out, I think it's best if you take Heather home. Marcus didn't look at her. He walked straight to me and offered his hand. I took it. He pulled me up. He looked at the torn hem of Mom's dress, and his jaw tightened. He steadied me. Then he turned toward the head table. Mr. Purcell. His voice was conversational. I'm Marcus, your daughter's husband, the daughter you just pushed to the floor. Richard's face reddened. I don't have anything to say to you. Take her and leave. I understand, sir. But when was the last time you personally checked your 401k beneficiary designations? Richard blinked. What? Victoria stood up so fast her chair scraped. Marcus, this is not the time or place. Actually, Mrs. Purcell, this is exactly the time and place. Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a manila envelope. He set it on the table in front of Richard. The room went quiet. Victoria placed herself between Marcus and Richard, her hand on her husband's arm. Richard, listen to me. They're trying to ruin your night. This is your retirement. 35 years. Mr. Purcell, Marcus said quietly, someone has been systematically dismantling your financial future, and you don't know it yet. Richard's hand hovered over the envelope. Even if Brooke has debt, Richard said slowly, what does it have to do with me? She owes $180,000 from a failed startup, Marcus said. 8 months ago, someone submitted a change of beneficiary form on your 401k and pension. The original form named Heather as your primary beneficiary at 50%. The new form names Brooke Ashford as sole beneficiary, 100%. Richard's mouth opened. That's impossible. I never signed any. I know you didn't, sir. Marcus opened the envelope and placed 2 forms on the linen tablecloth, side by side. Richard looked down at the papers. His face changed slowly. The form on the left was dated 12 years ago. Beneficiary, Heather Purcell, 50%. Estate of Linda Purcell, 50%. The signature was Richard's. The looping R, the heavy downstroke on the P. The form on the right was dated 8 months ago. Beneficiary, Brooke Ashford, 100%. Richard picked up the second form. He held it close to his face, then pulled it back. This isn't my signature. The R is wrong. I always loop the R. I've never written my R like that. I know, Marcus said. Victoria stepped forward. Richard, those documents are fabricated. Marcus printed them himself. I've seen my own handwriting for 63 years, Victoria. This is not my name. Brooke scraped her chair back. Dad? They're setting us up. This is what Heather does. She manipulates. Sit down, Brooke. He was still looking at the second form, turning it over in his hands. Victoria tried one more angle. She softened her voice. Richard, you signed those papers yourself. You just don't remember because you've been stressed. My mind is fine. He set the form down, looked at Marcus, looked at Victoria, looked across the room at me. Then a chair pushed back from the far corner. Donna Webb rose to her feet. Donna was 58 and had worked in benefits administration at Dad's company for 22 years. She was the kind of woman who wore sensible flats and carried a leather folio. She crossed the room without hurrying. Excuse me, she said. I think I need to add some context here. Victoria turned on her. Donna, this is a private family matter. Ma'am, I've been Mr. Purcell's benefits coordinator for 22 years. When someone submits a change to an employee's retirement beneficiary using an irregular signature, that's a company matter. Donna opened her folio. 8 months ago, a change of beneficiary form was submitted for Mr. Purcell's 401k and pension accounts. It arrived via email, which is unusual because in 22 years, Mr. Purcell has never once submitted paperwork electronically. He always came to my office in person. Richard nodded slowly. That's right, I always came to you, Donna. I flagged the discrepancy with HR 2 months ago. The signature didn't match our records. I reached out to Marcus because he's listed as Heather's emergency contact. I thought the family should know. Victoria's voice went thin. You had no right? I had every obligation, Donna said calmly. I've watched this man build his retirement for 30 years. I wasn't going to watch someone dismantle it with a forged signature. Marcus pulled out several pages stapled together, phone records. Mr. Purcell, your wife told you that Heather never calls, that she turned her back on this family. Marcus set the printout beside the beneficiary forms. These are Heather's phone records from the past 3 years. 147 outgoing calls to your phone number. 42 text messages, every week for 36 consecutive months. Richard picked up the printout. His finger moved down the columns. Call after call, every Sunday, almost without exception. That can't be right, he said. My phone never rang. Check your phone, sir, Marcus said gently. Right now. Go to settings, then blocked contacts. Richard reached into his pocket. He tapped the screen, navigated through menus. He found the list. One number blocked. The area code matched my city. Richard looked up from the phone. His eyes moved to Victoria. For the first time all evening, I saw the man I remembered. The man who trusted what was in front of him. You blocked her. His voice was barely above a whisper. You blocked my daughter. Victoria opened her mouth. Nothing came out. 147 calls. Richard's hands were shaking. She called me every single week, and you told me she didn't care. I didn't say a word. 147 calls said everything. Victoria's mask shattered. What came through was raw, cornered fury. Fine. Yes, I blocked her number, because Heather was toxic, Richard. She was trying to control you. I was protecting this family. She was my daughter. Richard's voice broke. Victoria charged forward. She was a grown woman who refused to accept that you had a new life. Every time she called, you got confused, you got sad. You started asking questions about Linda, about the old house. Helping me move past my dead wife? Brooke tried to intervene. Mom, stop. Victoria wheeled on her. Don't you dare. Everything I did was for you, because your father left us with nothing, and I had to make sure that... She caught herself. Richard stared at her. Had to make sure that what, Victoria? That Brooke would be taken care of. Her voice dropped. Brooke's father abandoned us. I had to think about her future. So you stole mine. I redirected it. For our family. Our family. Richard repeated the words. You erased my daughter, forged my name. And you call that family? Aunt Janet stood up from the back of the room. She walked to the center and faced her brother. Richard, I've been trying to tell you this for years. I watched Victoria shut Heather out of this family piece by piece, Janet said. The photographs, the phone calls, the invitations. I came to you 5 separate times and told you something was wrong. Richard, you pushed your daughter to the floor tonight. In front of every person you've worked with for 35 years, you need to sit with that. Phil nodded from his table. A few others did too, quiet, weighted nods. Richard lowered himself back into his chair. He set his phone on the linen cloth. His hand rested on the phone records. 147 calls, mapped in black and white. He didn't look at Victoria. He didn't look at Brooke. He looked at the empty space where the retirement speech should have lived. Janet's voice carried. I loved you enough to keep trying, Richard, but Heather loved you enough to call 147 times when you never picked up. Think about which one of us gave up. Richard stood up slowly. He moved like someone walking through water. He stepped off the platform and crossed the ballroom floor. Victoria called after him. Richard, where are you going? He didn't turn around. 80 people watched my father walk toward me, past tables of colleagues, past champagne flutes and linen napkins. He stopped 3 feet away. His gaze dropped to my dress, the torn hem, the navy silk. That's your mother's dress, he said. Yes, I wore it for you, Dad, because Mom would have wanted to be here tonight. Something broke behind his face. He looked down at his own hands. I pushed you, he said. Yes, in front of everyone. He looked at the Cartier watch on his wrist. Then he looked at me. Heather. He stopped. I don't know how to say this. I waited. I didn't help him find the words. I believed everything she told me, he said. Every word, because it was easier than admitting I was losing you. He turned back toward the room. I owe my daughter an apology, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. Not just for tonight. For 3 years. I let someone convince me that the one person who never stopped reaching out had given up on me. That's on me. Victoria lied, but I chose to believe her. He faced me again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I pushed you. I'm sorry I didn't answer your calls. I'm sorry I let them erase your mother. My throat was tight, but I didn't collapse into him. I accept your apology, Dad, but accepting an apology and trusting you again are 2 very different things. We have a long way to go. He nodded slowly. I know. Victoria marched across the floor with rigid posture. She positioned herself between us. Can't anyone see what's happening? Marcus and Heather planned this entire spectacle. This is an attack. Richard spoke without turning to face her. No, Victoria, the only person who planned anything was you. The seating chart, the slideshow with no pictures of Heather, no pictures of Linda. You choreographed everything to make sure my daughter felt invisible. He turned away from her. Back to me. Victoria pivoted to the guests. She scanned the room for allies. What she found instead were averted gazes. Phil spoke up. Ma'am, the man just showed us a forged signature. Sit down. Victoria turned to Brooke. Brooke stood at the edge of the platform, clutching her handbag, her face drained of color. Brooke, tell them this is all a misunderstanding. Brooke's mouth opened, closed. She looked at Richard. She looked at the beneficiary forms. She looked at me. Mom, Brooke said quietly, it's over. Something in Victoria's expression went hollow. It is not over, she whispered. But she was the only person in the room who still believed that. Brooke gathered her things and headed for the door. She stopped in front of me. I didn't know about the signature, she said. I swear to you, Heather, I didn't know she forged his name. But you knew about the phone, I said. You knew I was calling. You knew I was being blocked. Brooke didn't answer right away. That silence carried more honesty than anything Victoria had said. I wanted a dad, Brooke finally said. Her eyes were wet. My real father left when I was 6. Richard was the first person who ever, her voice cracked. He made me feel like I mattered. I understood that. Understanding it didn't make me less angry, but it made my anger more precise. I understand wanting a father, Brooke, but you don't get one by erasing someone else's daughter. She held my gaze for a moment. Then she nodded and walked toward the exit. Victoria called after her, sharp and desperate. Brooke! Brooke! Brooke pushed through the double doors. Victoria stood alone at the head table. Both chairs beside her were empty. Richard faced her. Victoria, I think you should go home. This is my party too, Richard. No, this was supposed to be my retirement. You turned it into a stage for your scheme. We'll talk tomorrow, with a lawyer present. Victoria picked up her clutch and adjusted her scarf. She drew herself up and surveyed the room one last time. 80 people who'd watched her performance unravel. She walked toward the exit. Her heels struck the hardwood in a slow, measured rhythm. At the door, she stopped and turned back. She looked directly at me. There was no pretense left, just fury. I looked back at her. I didn't flinch. After 3 years of silence, I'd gotten very good at it. The door closed behind her. The room released a breath. Richard stood at the center, looking at the empty head table. Then he looked at me. That seat was always yours, Heather. I just forgot. He pulled out the chair for me. And for the first time in 3 years, I sat next to my father. I pulled into my father's driveway 2 weeks later for the first time in 3 years. The front door was unlocked. Victoria's candles were gone. The marble dining table was gone. In its place was the oak table. Dad had pulled it from the garage, sanded it down, and refinished it. The joints were tight. The legs were level. I found my chair, the one with my initials carved into the back. HP. The chair wobbled slightly. Some of the scratches won't come out, Dad said from the kitchen doorway. That's okay, Dad. Neither will some of mine. He poured 2 cups of coffee in plain ceramic mugs, just 2 cups on an oak table in a kitchen that was starting to remember what it used to be. On the wall, a framed photograph of my mother, Linda Purcell, smiling back where she belonged. I glanced at Dad's phone on the table, blocked contacts. The list was empty. He'd figured it out himself. People ask me if I've forgiven my father. The honest answer is that forgiveness isn't a switch I flipped. It's like physical therapy, repetitive, uncomfortable, and measured in millimeters instead of miles. Some days I'm fine. Some days I remember the floor, the hardwood, the sound of my mother's dress tearing, and I have to decide again whether I'm going to carry that or set it down. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you pretend it didn't happen. It means you stop letting their worst moment dictate every moment after. My father pushed me. He called me not his real daughter in front of 80 people. Those things happened, and they'll always have happened. But they're not the entire story. They're the chapter that almost ended us, but didn't. 1 month after the party, Dad and I went to lunch, just the 2 of us, a diner on Route 35, red vinyl booths, laminated menus. He was wearing the Timex, the watch I'd bought him with my first summer job paycheck when I was 16, a $30 Timex from a Walmart display case. The crystal was scratched, the leather band was cracked, but the second hand still ticked. You kept it, I said. It was in my dresser drawer, under the Cartier box. I think I always knew which one meant more. We ordered fried egg sandwiches and black coffee, the way we used to when I was 10 and pretending to like coffee because he drank it. We talked about small things. The weather. A new bridge project. His plans for retirement. He wanted to build furniture again. Near the end of the meal, he set down his fork and looked at me. Your mom would have been proud of you, Heather. She would have been proud of you too, Dad. For waking up. He nodded, picked up his coffee, took a sip. We sat there in that vinyl booth, drinking bad coffee, and it was the best meal I'd had in years. The most expensive watch in the world can't buy back the time you've wasted, but a $30 Timex can remind you to stop wasting what's left. Here's where everyone ended up. Victoria. The divorce finalized 4 months later. She received no portion of Richard's retirement fund. She moved in with her sister in Columbus. Brooke. She's paying down her startup debt on a structured repayment plan. No safety net from Richard. No shortcuts. Donna Webb. She retired the same quarter as Richard. HR gave her a commendation. She and Dad still talk. Richard. My dad. He joined a support group for people who've experienced financial manipulation by family members. He goes every other Tuesday. He's learning how to use his smartphone. He's terrible at it. The camera's always pointed at his forehead. I don't correct him. And the oak table in Dad's kitchen has 4 chairs now. Richard, Heather, Marcus, Janet. Just enough for the people who chose to stay. If you're listening and you recognize something, the silence, the blocked calls, the seat that was taken away, I want you to know something. You're not invisible. You were just in a room full of people who chose not to look. Don't wait 3 years like I did. Don't let your pride harden into an excuse to stop reaching for the people who matter. My father made a terrible mistake. He made it because a woman lied to him every day for 3 years, and he was too exhausted and too afraid of being alone to question it. That doesn't excuse him, but it explains him. And sometimes understanding why someone hurt you is the first step toward deciding whether they've earned another chance. I didn't get a perfect ending. I got a starting point. A kitchen table with 4 chairs and a pot of black-eyed Susans on the porch. A father who answers his phone now. My name is Heather Purcell. I'm 31 years old. I'm a structural engineer, and I build things that are designed to stand even when the ground shakes beneath them. That's the end of my story. But if this story made you feel a little less alone tonight, that's everything I could have hoped for.